We all want to get healthy, but it's tough to do in today's very busy fast food kind of world. Today's guest has some timely advice on the topic. Dr. Don Colbert. He's a board-certified family practice doctor for more than 25 years and a best-selling author as well. His latest book is Dr. Colbert's Healthy Gut Zone: Heal Your Digestive System to Restore Your Body and Renew Your Mind. Dr. Colbert, welcome to Bridge City News.
Thank you. It's great being here.
Now, judging by the title of your book, it sounds like gut health is vital to the rest of our overall health.
Absolutely right. In fact, Hippocrates back in 400 BC or around then said that all disease begins in your gut. And just now we're learning that he was absolutely right. But most of us just think of gut health as digestion, heartburn, clearing up constipation or diarrhea. But there's so much more. 2/3 of our immune system is located in our gut. To have good mental health, we need to have a healthy gut. We're finding now that if the gut is compromised, people are more prone to depression and anxiety, as well as even dementia is linked to the gut through the vagus nerve. It actually is a nerve that runs from the colon and the GI tract all the way up to the brain stem. And when there's a leaky gut or increased intestinal permeability in the gut, eventually there will become a leaky brain where you get more inflammation in the brain with memory loss, with dementia, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's. And so again, I discuss all this. Even obesity is linked to the gut, especially your good bacteria. Certain good bacteria help prevent obesity by reducing our cravings for all the sweets and carbs and starches that cause obesity and all the fast foods that we crave.
Now, so you're saying whatever inflames our gut will eventually inflame our brain and the rest of our body at the same time, which, like you said, potentially leads to what? Dementia and Alzheimer's?
Right, and even ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder is many times related to the gut. And what is happening is so many doctors are prescribing meds like antibiotics that may help with strep throat and other problems, infectious disease, but they eventually harm the gut. They kill off the good bacteria. They cause bad bacteria to grow, as well as other meds like anti-inflammatories, acid-blocking meds. These are some of the most common causes of gut issues that eventually will lead to other gut problems and eventually systemic problems such as autoimmune disease. So I discuss all this because it all started with me years ago. Back 30 years ago, I developed psoriasis. But I was a young doctor back then. I was treating patients day and night. I was on call every night. But then one morning, I woke up with psoriasis, and I went to my dermatologist buddy, and he gave me, these creams with coal tar that smelled horrible. With a long story, making it short, I got sick of this coal tar, and I said, that's it, I'm going to find the answer. I healed the gut, and within a few months, the psoriasis was gone. But I traced it back to I was using antibiotics, off and on for a few years, because when I would get sick, I didn't have time to stop working. So I'd take an antibiotic for a week or 10 days, clear the infection up, but I decimated my gut. When I healed my gut, the autoimmune disease went away, as well as my gut issues and the brain fog and all the other problems I was having, like fatigue. And so I've been doing this now for over 30 years, teaching people how to heal the gut, but we have so much more information now and so much about the gut and the microbiome, which is so exciting. And now we have the tools to heal the gut. And the main tool is our food.
So making the right food choices will have a major influence on our health. What kinds of food should we be putting on the never touch list?
Okay, well, this is what surprises so many people. In order to heal the gut, I list the 10 most common foods that really wreak havoc on the gut. And the most common I see that consistently wreaks havoc on the gut is gluten or wheat. And I tell patients with gut issues, stop eating the wheat or the gluten for a few months and let's let the gut heal. The other most common is foods that are high in lectins. Now, most people have never heard about lectins, but lectins are little proteins that are found in foods, especially grains and beans, legumes, peas and lentils and foods like that, that are little proteins that plants use to protect them from predators. But because we harvest our foods early, we harvest our foods when the lectin levels are at the highest peak. Now, lectins, when they're at the highest peak, what they do is they damage our gut lining. They cause a condition causing increased intestinal permeability that pulls the tight junctions of our gut apart and allows our gut to literally seep in undigested foods, bacteria, yeast, inflammatory products, and it creates a mess in our gut. So again, the foods that are most commonly associated with this are wheat, high sugar diet, high processed food diet, and lectins, especially our beans and tomatoes and nightshades, and again, the other grains like corn. So I teach people how to cut these foods out for a season, usually a couple of months, 2 or 3 months. Then we introduce them in and we literally allow the gut to heal.
But doctor, we're talking corn on the cob here. Come on. We got Tabor corn not far from here, southern Alberta. Peaches and cream. It's so good. You can't cut that out of your diet. Come on, man.
Well, I'm not saying forever. I'm saying for a short season, let's give the gut a rest so it can heal. Then you can introduce those back in. And some people have to rotate them every 3 or 4 days, but they can still generally eat them. But instead of genetically modified corn, use the organic corn, okay? And so I teach them what to do to heal the gut so we can keep the gut healed and experience good gut health as well as good mental health, as well as lose weight, which prevents most every disease.
So what kinds of vegetables specifically should we really be eating right now? Does it make any difference if they're raw or cooked?
Well, again, yes. And again, lots of veggies is important. And now, raw vegetables, some people can't tolerate as much. They need to cook them. Some people have to limit their cruciferous veggies. The more veggies you can eat, the better. But a lot of people with gut issues have to limit those. So we put them on certain vegetables that are real gut friendly, like sweet potatoes and yams are very gut friendly. They literally start to heal the gut. High fiber foods. Now, again, the fiber is generally in the stems of the vegetables, the asparagus, the broccoli, not necessarily in the flowering portion, but in the stems. Also, certain foods like garlic and onions are full of these prebiotics that really help to feed our good bacteria. And then good bacteria foods such as goat milk yogurt or goat milk kefir, as well as sauerkraut and kimchi, or just taking probiotics is so important for restoring the gut. But one of the best foods for the gut are what we call resistant starches, such as green bananas. Now, don't overeat your green bananas, but start with maybe 1/2 or one green banana, not necessarily dark green. Why green bananas? They're full of resistant starches that feed the good bacteria and heal the gut. And also green papayas, green mangoes to put in your salad, and then polyphenols, olive oil, dark chocolate, berries, tea. These are full of polyphenols that literally heal and soothe the gut, full of antioxidants and phytonutrients, especially high phenolic olive oil. And I go in detail about these powerful foods that we use to literally let food be our medicine that heals our gut, but also it helps to plant the good bacteria, which will actually protect our brains. When the gut is damaged, eventually it'll affect the brain and create brain fog, memory issues, and eventually maybe even dementia. So by restoring gut health, we're protecting our brains from degeneration in the future.
Now, we touched a little bit on protein earlier, and it's important to have protein in your diet. But how much protein, doctor, and what kind should we incorporate?
Well, good question. Again, most of us are eating way too much red meat, way too much pork. We find the healthiest types of protein are your chicken and your fish and your turkey and some pastured eggs. Those are the healthiest. And I say don't overconsume red meat because red meat is generally high in saturated fat. And we found that a lot of saturated fat, like in red meat, like in butter and cheese and cream and coconut oil, will cause us to absorb a byproduct of gram-negative bacteria cell membrane called LPS, lipopolysaccharide. I know it's a mouthful, but these are highly inflammatory particles that literally go through our gut lining, and then they go through our brain, blood-brain barrier, and they inflame our brain, and they create inflammation throughout our gut and our brain. And an interesting statistic is people with Alzheimer's and dementia have 3 times more LPS in their brains than the average person. When you eat a lot of saturated fat like red meat, you're inviting dementia, LPS into your brain. So that's why you got to go easy on the red meat, not so much fatty meats. If you eat red meat, make sure it's the lean filet. We've had to change everything because of this new information on LPS and the brain, lipopolysaccharides. Because literally those saturated fats hitch a ride on that lipopolysaccharide, enter the brain and inflame the brain, but also inflame the gut and create mass inflammation throughout the body.
Now, what about fruits and nuts? How important are they to a healthy daily diet?
Very important. Again, the best fruits are the berries. The berries are full of these polyphenols, these phenolics. So I love blueberries. Every morning I start with either blueberries or strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, cranberries. Those berries are critical. But so again, the berries are critical. Nuts are critical too. Those are those good fats. That's why I tell people this is a gut-friendly Mediterranean diet without all the wheat. Okay, we're taking the wheat out, corn for just a season, and then we're putting back in organic corn and moderation in wheat. And some people have to avoid wheat because when people get off wheat, their gut heals and they feel so good. They say, that's it, I'm not eating wheat again. They're eating more rice, okay? And an interesting part is the brown rice is what inflames the gut when the gut has been damaged. So we take them off the brown rice and we can put them on the white basmati rice, and it doesn't generally inflame the gut near as much as the brown rice due to the lectins. I talk a lot about the lectins in the book to explain it because people are totally unaware. The doctor's unaware. But when you cut these lectins out of the diet for a season, like the brown rice, the wheat bread, the corn, the beans, the peas, the lentils, the nightshades, then the gut is able to heal. And then you can introduce them in moderation, and the gut does fine generally.
Now, we only have a couple of moments left here, Doctor. What about dairy products, specifically cheese? Does that really help with our gut health?
Now, that's one of the enemies of the gut. The 10 enemies I talk about initially, that's altar food for about 4 to 8 weeks.
Come on, work with me on this here. Come on.
Well, you want your gut to heal, you give up the cheese. Now, let me explain something. There is a form of cheese that does not inflame the gut near as much, like feta cheese. Feta cheese is 70% sheep, 30% goat. It doesn't have the casein A1 in it that inflames the gut, and it has very little lactose that feeds the bad bacteria. So feta cheese is a much better choice, or casein A2 cheese that is much less inflammatory. But we cut out the dairy for, again, about 4 to 8 weeks so the gut can heal. Then we introduce it in. But the best cheese you can eat would be the feta or the sheep cheese or the goat cheese.
So if you recommend staying away from dairy, in other words, perhaps goat's milk, perhaps cow milk, what about alternatives, let's say, like coconut milk or almond milk?
Absolutely. Those are wonderful alternatives. And again, I tell people the lower fat coconut milk, the almond milk is low in sugar, so is the coconut milk. So those are wonderful alternatives. And so again, those are great for those people who have to give milk up for about 4 to 8 weeks. But then when they do, it's amazing what people tell me. Just like they say, oh, you know, the sinus problems I had are cleared up. The snoring I had is cleared up. All the mucus production I used to have, that little mucusy, raspy voice that so many people that eat a lot of cheese, a lot of milk have, clears up. But also the inflammation. It is so many people with joint problems that say when they give up the dairy, oh my goodness, the joint relief they get is amazing. So much to convince people to just either stay off of it or rotate it in their diet only maybe every 3 or 4 days. Or to use, just like I said, the feta, the goat, or the sheep cheese, okay?
Thanks so much for your expertise today, Doctor. Dr. Don Colbert is the author of Dr. Colbert's Healthy Gut Zone, available at drcolbertbooks.com. Thanks again for joining me from Dallas, Texas.
Thank you.
On behalf of all of us here at Bridge C News, I'm Hal Roberts. God bless, and thanks for watching.